G'day everyone, it's Brad Flynn here, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different, not our usual financial sort of thing, but it is related to the business financials and statements and all those sorts of things. It's a video on who are you? Who really are you? We're going to look at all the different elements that make up your identity, who you are as a person, which has a huge influence on how you see finances and money. So stay tuned and rip into this one. We're going to look at how values come into the human psyche. And I have this thing I call the identity iceberg. Now, icebergs can be a lot about people, all right? So why do you think that is? Yes, exactly, because above the surface of the water here is a little bit, but below the surface is a massive bit. And that's exactly what people are like. On the outside, we get to see people's behaviors and their decisions and their actions. That's what we see, but we don't get to see what's below in the water, the actual bottom part of the iceberg. Now, the first thing that influences our iceberg is this thing called our environment, okay? And even more simply, the iceberg we can think of as an identity. We can replace that with I am. So the iceberg, I want you to take a minute now and go through and write out a whole bunch of things that finish the sentence I am. You might say, I am an entrepreneur. You might say, I am a business owner. You might say, I am intelligent. All right, so I want you to take a moment now and try and come up with 10 I ams that describe who you are. All right, pause the video and finish that sentence, I am, 10 times. Go. How did you go? Did you get your 10 I am statements? That's your identity, okay? And I probably should have said a bit better, not who you want to become, but who you actually believe you are right now, all right? Now, what happens with the identity iceberg is that as we go down into the iceberg, we're going to start to see what makes up your identity. Now, the first part that makes up your identity is your skills, okay? Now, your skills, if we're going to define it nice and simply, is the ability to do something well. Obviously, this guy's pretty good at tightrope walking, all right? Maybe you're a good cook. Maybe you're a runner. Maybe you're good at running. Maybe you're a good artist. But a skill on that top level is what something is that you can do well, okay? Now, as we go deeper into here, you're going to start to see how all this starts to hang together. Now, your skills are influenced by your beliefs, okay? What's a belief? How would you describe a belief? In my opinion, a belief is something you hold to be true. Now, is it a fact? Nope, not necessarily. You may remember there was a time in your life when there was a guy in a red suit and a white beard who used to magically come once a year and leave presents. And you believed that that guy, Santa, was actually very real. But it's not true. Beliefs are not facts. It's something that's true for you, but may not be true for me or somebody else. But it's very true for you, okay? And it's interesting, if you look at the word belief, if you swap the E with the F, what does it become? B-E-L-I-F-E. Be life. Because your beliefs will have a large part on defining what will be life for you. Okay, so we're going to dive into these a bit as we're going through. With our beliefs are then influenced by, our values. All right, so our values are a really, really important part of what makes this up. So we've got our environment that has been part in shaping our values from day one. And also we've got all of these things that make up our identity as a whole. So your environment can be your parents, your siblings, teachers, preachers, friends, coaches, anyone around you, the radio, TVs you watch, have an effect on your identity. But by largest amount, our values, which we're diving into today, are going to have the biggest effect on who your identity is and then how you live your life. And as we're going to see, why it's important to know this as you start to set your outcomes, because your values influence beliefs, which influences the skills that you get, that influences everything that happens on the outside here. Now, before we go into defining in greater detail and getting some definition around what a value is, I want to start with what it's not, because we all have these different ideas around what a value is. So I want to make sure we're all on the same page with this one in terms of what I'm sharing with you today. Now, most times when you ask someone what's a value, they will say things like this, honesty and integrity, truthfulness, sincerity and resilience, and all those sorts of things. Now, they are values, but not in the context that I want you to understand today. All right? I prefer to refer to these things as social idealisms. Okay, in terms of a personal value for yourself, whilst it may be something that's high on your priority list, it may not actually be helpful. So we're going to define deeper what these mean. So these are usually the rules that sometimes other people we feel are putting on us, that we should be doing these. I'm going to talk a lot about should and so forth as we progress through this now. So with that in mind, what is a value? What fundamentally is it? It's something that is important to you or me. It's something that's important to us. So it's a highly important thing for us. So, and you'll notice I've underlined the word import there. Okay, it's really important that we're going to see, there it is, that word again, why I've done that. Now, quite often I'll ask people, what's your definition of a value? And you hear all these funky things like value proposition and what's most valuable to the client. I like to generally replace that with a success proposition, because at the end of the day, a value is something for each individual that is unique. We all have this hierarchy of values, okay? It's like the fingerprints or our DNA or the color of our eyes or any of those sorts of things. It's a very unique thing. And we have this different arrangement of them. And that's what kind of makes us unique within the planet, is how our values work. But I also like to think of a value as being a feeling expected and realized through an exchange. Okay, so part of the transaction when you're working with a customer or even another person is that feeling you're expecting to get because of the interaction, and then when the interaction happens or the exchange happens. It could be a conversation and maybe they're buying a product or service. It could be anything like that. Now, think about it. If you get what you were expecting, you're satisfied, you're happy, it's good. If you do get above what you're looking for, you are delighted. But think about if you don't get what you wanted, that feeling, then you feel ripped off. Okay, so it's very much the same with our own values. It's about feelings at the end of the day. So understanding what these feelings mean to us is part of it. Now, I said to you about that word import. So I want you to think about our values, and I mentioned that there's like a hierarchy with our highest value and our second and our third and so forth. So if we were to consider these glasses as being our values, and we are happiest and most fulfilled when all of our glasses are full, okay? When our glasses on our highest values aren't full, we're not getting those feelings that we want, and we can be quite, the opposite. We can be quite sad and angry and not so good. So what we tend to do in our actions in life through our values is we go looking to import these experiences to fill up our glasses. Fulfill means to fill full. So our values direct us on a way to get our glasses full, because that is when we are most happy. Okay?